Pastor Osagie Ize-Iyamu, thank you for joining us in today's program.
Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you so much. Pastor, you were a member of the People's Democratic Party under Lucky Igbenegion's administration. You later on decamped to the All Progressive Congress, led by the incumbent governor, Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, of Edo State. Now you're back again to the People's Democratic Party, seeking the gubernatorial candidacy. Why should the People's Democratic Party trust you?
Thank you. Let me correct that impression. I never decamped from the PDP. I was a foundation member of the PDP in 1998. And we worked hard to ensure that PDP won the election in 1999 and in 2003. But from 2005 to 2006, as a build-up to who succeeds the incumbent governor began to manifest, there were a lot of issues. And the president then, President Olusegun Obasanjo, came up with the idea that they should begin to re-register members. It was a good idea in itself, but unfortunately, they chose to now use it to deregister people who they were not comfortable with. I was very outspoken. I'd always insisted that there should be internal democracy, that there should be equal opportunities for members of the party to air their views, to participate in the processes of choosing who becomes what. And many people did not like my outspokenness. And of course, you know, I formed the Grace Group that had the slogan, "No man is God." And people felt that we were a threat. You know, we moved and we formed what later became the AC, ACN, and now APC. So the question of even decamping to it did not arise because we formed it. You know, all the pro tem officers that were chosen, we selected them. They were all people from within our group, starting from the state chairman to, you know, the list officer. We chose all of them. And we made it clear that we wanted something that would be different, something that will attract all manners of people, whether rich or poor. And at the beginning, we succeeded. Adams Oshiomhole was not a member of that group when he started. He had his own labor thing. I think he started from, he went into the PDP, he wanted to be governor, they said no, then he went to AMPP and they refused to also endorse him as governor. And then he came to Labour and he found out that the Labour platform would not be able to do it. And then he came to us to say, please, will you accept me? Can I use your platform to run for governorship? And we said, why not? I don't know where you come from. They've never had a civilian governor. And you know, you are from there. And considering your pedigree as you know, a former president of the NLC, we are sure too that you'll be concerned about the plight of the workers and you'll be passionate about development. So we gave him a platform. But by the time he got into power, it was something else. But some of us, we didn't want to be stigmatized moving from place to place. So even when we began to see signs that all was not well, that the kind of things we were concerned about, we were worried about in the PDP was now manifesting itself in this new party we formed that was now in government. We tried to persevere. But by the second term, it became worse. We were supposed to do what was a very simple Congress where we're going to elect officers at all levels, starting from the ward. And to our surprise, we found the governor trying to manipulate the whole process. At that stage, we just said, look, we can't continue like this. It appears that nothing has changed. And we talked to the governor, we complained to him, we complained to the national leadership, but nobody was ready to rock the boat. Once somebody is governor, nobody wants to offend him. He's the one who is financing the party, even though he's using state funds. So You know, nobody was ready to antagonize the governor. So when we realized that no matter what we say, nobody would listen, and it was not simply a one-man show, we had no choice but to begin to think about, you know, where to go. The PDP made overtures to us and said, look, gentlemen, we made a mistake. You guys were original members of our party. The mistake we made was to have deregistered you. We are sorry. We would like you to please come back. You know, we have reformed ourselves. We also believe now that there's need for more robust participation. We want more people to come into the party. So why don't you, since you want to leave that place, why go through the process again of starting a new party afresh? Why don't you come and join us? And, you know, by the time we consulted, and you know, it was clear that they were genuine in their overtures to us, we moved there. So if you look at me, I've been very stable, and I'm very consistent in my political views and beliefs.
Pastor Osagie Ize-Iyamu, let's take a short break and we'll be right back on the Osasa Show. Today we are at Kamajiri IDP camp in Abuja. One of the internally displaced people in Area 1 IDP camp in Duromi told us about this camp and how neglected it has been for the past year and a half. So we came to see what was going on ourselves, talk to the inhabitants of this camp and see how the Osasa Show can be of help.
Some organizations, they have brought some of the children to Kamajiri Primary School earlier. But about nursery school, they are registered, but they are not paid to pay money to pay us. So the nursery school of this Kamajiri is for this Parents Teachers Association. Okay. It's not for government. So they told us about the registration of the students from 5 years downwards.
5 years
downward.
Okay.
So we don't have money to pay us.
How many children are in this camp?
The children, most of them, we have the IDP children, but it's not all. It's not all. So by the time they brought this school, we admit all of the children who are staying here. But now, all the houses in this camp, it's not all of them is IDP. Okay. But we have a list of our IDPs, but it's not all. I will show you one by one. Some of our people, they are staying up this opposite the railway. Some they are living here, but we are living here.
We are buying land.
We are buying land.
All of us, we used to buy land before we stay.
They save 20,000 from this.
It's don't pass 20,000.
Some people say when they come now, they used to pay 30,000. Now if you don't have 50,000, you don't have, you won't buy land here.
What changes can the good people of our state look forward to if you are elected governor?
Thank you. The Bible says, where there is no vision, the people perish. I think the biggest problem we've had in Edo in the past 7.5 years is that we've had a government that has been running the state without direction and without vision. I remember when this present governor was coming in, he tried to use certain slogans to explain what he had in mind. For example, he said, it will be bye-bye to poverty. That statement was profound. A governor who says, I want to abolish poverty, is bound to get people excited because it will mean that you are talking about employment, you are talking about agriculture, you are talking about industries. He talked about no to godfatherism. Again, that also meant that we would have a government that would be all-encompassing. We would have a government that would be caring, compassionate, a government where due process will be recognized. But almost at the end of the journey, if you were to ask about these things, you will find out that it was a journey to nowhere. I was shocked recently when they asked the governor that in the past 7.5 years, what industries have you put in place? He said he never promised industries. That was not his promise. How do you say bye-bye to poverty when agriculture, which used to be our mainstay, is not even attended to? Mark my word, I'm not even saying giving priority to, attended to. If you look at the past budget, you will see the disdain at which the present government has looked at agriculture. Our farmers are not supported. Recently, I was in a conference. They called me to come and speak of cassava farmers. And a woman from Edo gave us a pathetic story of how she had to relocate from Edo to Taraba because the government of Edo was not interested in agriculture. While in Taraba, they were giving assistance to farmers. And today, she's doing very well. I felt sad. And that is the kind of lamentation you will find all over the state. So, what we want to bring in is a government that has a clear vision of what is needed to move Edo to become a model in Nigeria. It's obvious that we must diversify our economy. We cannot continue to rely on the allocation from Abuja. Some time ago on my Facebook page, I tried to write on Edo without allocation, assuming nothing comes from Abuja. Will Edo collapse? And I tried to look at the state like Lagos when council funds were withheld and they were still being paid by virtue of the IGRO that they were collecting. So I believe that Edo can survive if we have a governor and a government that can think outside the box. This government has been consuming wealth without attempting to create wealth. And that is the tragedy that we have experienced. Because the past 7 years have been our years of plenty. These years of plenty should have been the period when we would have arranged ourselves for the time of famine. Unfortunately, we squandered everything that we had in the years of plenty. We even borrowed into the future. And we have mortgaged the future. But there's still hope. And the hope is that the government that must come in now must be creative. Edo State has fertile land. It will interest you to know that as the prices of oil was coming down, the prices of cocoa was going up. During our time in government, we were able to grow cocoa production in our states, from down the ladder to a time that we were number 2 in the entire country. But today, we are nowhere. In our time, we were number 1 in cassava in the whole country. But today, Edo State is nowhere. We were number 1 in plantain. We were number 1 in pineapple. But all these positions have been lost because the present government do not even have an agricultural policy. If you go to Agenebode, where Leventis had a rice farm, the facility there is enough to make Edo State the hub for rice production in this country. That place alone, not to talk about Ekpoma or what they call it, Warake and all these other places. Leventis farm alone can produce all the rice we need in this country and even export. But the place is dead and government has made no attempt to revive it. These are some areas we need to look into. We must focus on agriculture. Edo State is rich in solid minerals. All parts of the state, all kinds of solid minerals are there. The Chinese have come into the state. They came into the state on the basis of the raw materials that we have and the strategic nature of the bypass, which was also built during the PDP era. It was during the time of the PDP federal government and Lucky Bunedion was governor that the bypass was built. Very strategic road that goes to all parts of the country, whether it's in north, it's east, it's west, or it's south. 2 Chinese firms, one doing ceramics, the other one doing iron rods, have gone to locate their factories on that road because from there they can move their raw material. But again, in that state, the minerals are there that they need. The solid minerals are there. You know, if they want limestone, it is there. Whatever they need is there. So solid minerals is another potential revenue earner for our state. We have not capitalized on it. There's also too much wastage in government. Too much wastage. Our projects are overpriced. A lot of the projects being canvassed as being done by this government, they have no price tag. I do not understand how we can appreciate projects done with our money and we're not told how much it costs. So there has to be fiscal discipline. We need to be transparent in contract award. We need to be transparent in how much we give our contracts. And of course, even the IGRO, a lot of the funds are going into private pockets. Recently, the governor disbanded the Edo Traffic Agency and shocked everybody when he said he was not even aware of their existence. But these people were all over the place. They were using government offices. They were giving people fines. And people were paying money into accounts. And they were collecting receipts. So where did that money go? If the chief executive said, I did not even know they existed. The produce board, which we initiated when we were in government, is collecting money, millions on a monthly basis. But if you go and check what comes to government, it's pittance. So quite honestly, the level of corruption is unacceptable. Things must change. When this government had to award contract for the supply of chairs and tables for our classrooms, instead of patronizing our local furniture makers and carpenters, they left the state and went elsewhere. They want entertainers. The local ones are ignored. You go outside. So you have a government that has a disdain for the local people, and yet you got there by their vote. You don't patronize them. You don't support them. Only one surveyor, quantity surveyor, does all the quantities in the state. Only one person. Every job that has to be done is the one to quantify the cost, is the one that will supervise, is the one that will okay payment. Is that not corruption? A man who quantifies a job is the same one that will supervise the job, is the same one that will okay payment. Corruption cannot be more than that. And only one person doing it. So how do the other quantities of yours in the state, how do they survive? There are no teachers. In the rural areas, it's one school, one teacher. It will be shocking for you to know that in our hospitals, in the entire hospitals in Edo State, you have only 2 general surgeons. You have only 2 orthopedic surgeons. You have 1 dermatologist who is on contract employment. The only school of nursing and midwifery has been de-accredited for lack of funding. So when you look at these things, how do you talk about success in the healthcare when medical personnel are not there? How do you talk about success in the educational sector when teachers are not employed? How can you say you've abolished poverty when there's no cultural policy? Farmers are not assisted. There are no industries. This government, they have never met with the private sector to engage them on how they can collaborate. How can you govern the state when the private sector is not involved? So their own understanding of government is very pedestrian. You know, modern governance is different from what they are doing. But it's clear that they really do not have a template or a vision or an agenda. At the end of this administration, and you were to ask, what have you achieved? The governor might say, oh, we have put red roof in schools. That statement will be absurd. The color of roofs in schools is the achievement. Or we have debt with godfathers. Meanwhile, within your own party, there are cries getting louder by the day that one man wants to dictate with the governor. So what are we talking about? So I want to assure you that the PDP, they are coming in with a lot of experience. They are coming in with a lot of commitment. Many of those in PDP are people who live in Edo State. So we know the problems of the state and we know what can be done. Edo is rich in so many areas. Culture and tourism is one area that we can use to make Edo the preferred destination of anybody coming to this country.
Pastor Osagie Ize-Iyamu, thank you so much for your time. I want to give you an opportunity, though, to tell our viewers, your last words. Why should they vote you? First of all, if you win the candidacy of your party, why should they elect you as governor? And also, from our conversation, it's very obvious that most of your goals and most of your vision for Edo State aligns with the United Nations Global Goals for Sustainable Development, all 17 of these goals. And I want you to briefly, because we're running out of time, to just pick 2 of these goals, either in education, health, economy, infrastructure. Just pick 2 of these goals. Just tell me what 2 goals you would focus on. I know there'll be more, but just tell me the 2 major goals the Osagie Ize-Iyamu administration will focus on if you are elected governor, and why our people should vote for you.
Well, I'm hoping that I will get the nomination of my party, because the law does not allow for independent candidacy. If I do, the promise that I'm making is that I'm very sincere, I'm very committed, and I'm very, very passionate about that state. I have lived there all my life, and that is where I want to be buried. And I want the state to be made attractive for our children and our children's children. I do not intend to focus on one particular area to the exclusion of others. The way government is, no matter the funds that you have, there are things you must take care of. But I believe we need to grow the economy of our state. We are undergoing very challenging times now. And if we want to focus on education, to focus on health, which we must do, we need to have the resources to do so. So for me, the first priority is to grow the economy of the state. The economy of the state has been bastardized, it has been plundered, and it has more or less been abandoned. We need to restore confidence. We need to help and support local businesses. We need to make our state viable. We need to grow the IGRO of our state without necessarily resorting to punitive and arbitrary taxes. Once we achieve a solid economic base for our state, then our welfare programs can go full steam. There is no doubt that teachers must be employed. We must establish science laboratories. Our school system must be made to be more functional. There's no doubt that you cannot run hospitals without medical personnel. It is not the building that makes the hospital. What makes the hospital is the quality of care, the personnel that you have, the equipment that you have, the drugs that are available. We will make these things available. That is how we intend to make healthcare more functional. And of course, agriculture. We must encourage our people to go to the farm. Agriculture can employ and absorb so many of our youths. We intend to focus on it. We intend to encourage local farmers. We intend to encourage commercial farmers. we intend to teach our youths that farming is not something they should despise. So what we have is a comprehensive program that will turn the fortunes of our state in the next 4 years, God helping us.
Pastor Osagie Ize-Iyamu, thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it.
Make sure you catch this full episode on our website, www.theosasushow.com. For all current affairs news, you can visit our website, and also sustainable development news and more on Edo State politics and policy in general. Don't forget to watch past episodes on our YouTube channel. The link is below for sponsorship and advertisement. Our email address and our phone number is below as well. Until next time, take very good care of yourself.